He gives, even from the start, he gave me the ick. I think it's just because of the mustache, but I don't know.
Sorry,
It's just
mate.
me with my moustache here,
Yeah, I was
right?
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Butterfly Effect podcast. I'm Jack. I'm here with Liam.
How's it going?
And we have our returning special guest, Anya.
Hi.
So, as you've seen from the title, guys, this time we are covering Life is Strange 1.
Chloe falls through a bed.
It makes sense. Okay, so guys, before we obviously get into the game, maybe it's worth just taking a moment to just talk about maybe what this game means to us. If that's a little bit sentimental, I apologise, and also as well when we first played it, because I imagine it's been some time. So, Anya, we'll start with you.
I remember when this game was coming out. It was like, what, 2015? When did it come out?
Yeah, January 2015.
Yeah. So, like, this is a year, I think, like, because, you know, later in the year Until Dawn would come out. So it's like, I was really invested in these choice-based games. And it looked, the vibe of it was just very aesthetically pleasing. Like, Arcadia Bay is so pretty, and Chloe has such cool style, and I love photography, and I don't know, it just kind of like drew me in with like its world and its charm of its art style and everything, and like the ability to, you know, make choices, and it keeps having episodes coming out, so it keeps you hooked and everything. And yeah, that's what got me like really excited for it initially. And then the more it kept coming out, the more I kept playing it, I'm like, wait, this is actually really sick, and these characters are really interesting, and I like feeling like I have some form of where the story is gonna go. So I'm always a big fan of that.
I mean, I think, like, this was, like Anya said, before I discovered supermassive games. So I think, like, the games of this genre, you had Quantic Dream, who release a masterpiece, like, every 5 years. So it's like you waited on them to make a game. And I think at this point, Telltale just dropped off the cliff massively with their quality. Like, so far away from what, like, The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us would give us. So, yeah, there was just a massive gap in the market and a calling for a game like this to be made, I think. And I remember that, like, I kind of discovered this game probably before I met you, Jack, at uni, because, you know, it's 2014 and I'm seeing trailers for it. And I don't know why, but, like, I rarely go out my way to look for game trailers, but I looked out for them. And it wasn't like a popular game. Like, you had to do a bit of scrolling and digging to find it. And I don't know why, but I just saw one trailer and I was hooked. I pre-ordered the game. I knew I had to play it. I knew I had to buy it. This was uni where I had the worst laptop ever that I bought to uni. It was like 4 years old. It was slow. It was dying, but it could barely run Life is Strange. I remember when I first played it, the textures were all messed up. Like, David Madsen's hat was like pink and shiny. The textures were so fucked, honestly. But I persisted, and yeah, I'm just absolutely obsessed with this game. Obviously, as we'll voice if we do other seasons, I do think the quality does drop, and this is like peak Life is Strange. For me, it gets worse and worse, but this game is just absolutely fantastic. And it came out in January the 30th, I believe. And when that episode came, I think I rejected hanging out with you lot because I was like, nah, I'm playing this game. I've been waiting for this for months. I'm not doing anything else. I was locked in my room, so no one could knock and disturb me. And yeah, I just absolutely became obsessed with this game. I mean, how about yourself, Jack? I think it was like a little later down the line that you discovered this, right?
Yeah, it was a lot later, because I thought it was during university as well. For some reason, in my memory, it was roughly around Until Dawn. I thought 2015, so I was thinking it's going to have been like 7 years since I played this game. But looking at my achievements the other day, it was actually like 2018, February, so it's coming up to nearly 5 years since I've played this game. And I was happy to replay it because I remember having like fond memories of it before. Also as well, I was thinking, you know what, I actually don't remember that much, and sometimes you don't just want to sort of sit and watch gameplay, so you know what, I'll reinstall it and play it myself. But yeah, no, I didn't know that you played this before you knew about any supermassive ones, because for me it was very much Walking Dead Season 1, Wolf Among Us 1, maybe then Until Dawn, and then maybe Life is Strange. So that was my order in sort of like the whole choice-based scene. But yeah, epic stuff. I mean, I think honestly, it may reflect in the videos. I don't know. I think you two may be bigger fans of this franchise than I am. Like, don't get me wrong. I think this is a solid game, but I feel like this is one where it's not super massive. It's not my bread and butter. I'm not gonna like pick this up again for enjoyment in the future, you know.
Yeah, that's fair. And there's just something really unique about the game. Like, the soundtrack is picked to perfection, especially in season 1. I think, as Anya mentioned, it's so aesthetically pleasing. It's not like a game that jumps out of you. It's going to win any gameplay awards, but like the whole thing's inspired by a 90s series called Twin Peaks, which I absolutely love. And you know, the game is just about slowing it down. Like, even you could just choose for Max to sit on a bench with some pleasant music in the background. You can really take your time with it. And that's not everyone's style, but it's mine, and I'm always going to respect the game for that.
You know what? You mentioned Twin Peaks. That I know we're like jumping ahead here, but I swear, is it in this episode or episode 2, that I saw a number plate of a car drive up at one point, and I swear it had like TP, or like it looked like it had like Twin Peaks on it.
Yeah, Chloe's van.
Yeah, so no, I clocked it. But obviously, yeah, we'll crack on with the game now. So obviously Max wakes up, it's raining, it's like this crazy tornado storm, you don't really know what's going on. And of course the lighthouse falls, and then you wake up in a classroom. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, she just really enjoyed this whole scene in the classroom. Obviously you couldn't necessarily move, but you could look around. I looked in the journal and I thought that was fantastic, you know, how you could see the different photographs. You can see like early character descriptions, and just like the way, you know, obviously they're portraying as how Max writes. I was just buying into this character very early on and their opinions, and obviously she comes across as like quite maybe quite dorky, maybe a quite introverted, shy girl, and I think a lot of people can relate to that on some level. But yeah, it's like early doors, like what did you guys think of like Max's character?
I think in general she's just like a very like cute and adorable character, and she's great to have as a lead. And the way that it starts, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, shit's gonna go down, all right. And then we're in a classroom, and then you don't know what was going on, like it maybe was a dream or whatever. And then, you know, obviously later it's like foreshadowing stuff. But I do like the little interactiveness of, yeah, you're in a class, you can't really go anywhere or do anything, but you can still get a feel for the character that you're gonna be with, and like know her interests and everything. Because like photography, like she has the whole thing where she's stressing over the photo contest, and Mr. Jefferson is like, you haven't put anything in yet, and she's like, yeah, whatever, but she's working on it. But I like her, and I liked this intro as a good feel of who we're gonna be with and then what's gonna happen.
For me, yeah, like I really liked Max, and I think another thing, the game was timed to perfection because it came out during my first year of university, and this is when the game's set, during your first year of college. So Max is literally like my age. I think she's 2 months older than me. You know, a lot of these characters are born in 1995, the same as me. So I think there was just a natural kind of like relatability to just being in a classroom full of different characters, you know, different walks of life. You've got like Kate in the corner there who's having a real tough time. You've got Victoria, the absolute prissy bully, next to you. And then, you know, you've got like hipsters, stoners, just, you know, loads of different people. I just really love the universe of like the different characters. I like the fact that there's more than just 5 characters. It throws like about 20 at you who are all so different and all blend into this universe. It's just done to perfection. But yeah, you brought up the menu, and I thought it was fantastic. When I first played the game, I think you can complete it in about 2 hours. It probably took me 5, because whenever you would complete a section, you could read your diary and kind of just get more of Max's thoughts on it. So I absolutely love that, because especially at the time I kept a diary as well, so there was relatability there. I love the fact you get, you know, trophies for collecting 10 additional photos an episode. It's just, I really like it when they offer you more than just the mainstay story, which, say, for example, a Telltale game wouldn't do, at least until season 4 of The Walking Dead. But yeah, just Max, just such a good character to have. She's quite introverted, which I was as well, so yeah, I related to her in that aspect as well. But I just think it's a really good character to have, because she's kind of like a canvas in a way, and then you can kind of soak in all the characters and kind of bounce off them however you please. So yeah, really epic choice for, like a main character that we'll be with on our adventure for the first season of this game.
Definitely agree. I do love the variety, and because I'd read the journal and I'd literally seen about Victoria, you could see that she's going to be like the class bitch. She's a suck up to Jefferson, and then you've got, like you say, you've got Kate on the other side, who's like very shy and awkward and introverted and so on. But just to quickly say, like, even if from this scene alone, I love the writing and the voice acting. Like even from Jefferson when he's sort of saying, "Oh, Max, I can see you pretending not to look at me," like. I don't know, it felt so grounded, it felt so realistic that I really bought into this whole setup very early on. But of course, obviously, the scene progresses, and I just want to quickly touch on this almost like, I wouldn't call it a credit sequence per se, but you know when you're walking down the corridor and there's like some like music playing in the background, it comes up Square Enix, and you're walking, you're just taking all the scenery of all like the kids by their lockers, and stuff like that. I absolutely adored that, like as a way to like introduce the game. I know you've touched on the music already, but I guess like did you want to almost like come on it again, like in terms of how much you appreciate what they did here?
Yeah, like just walking down the hallway, plugging in your headphones to kind of take a breather, it's just fantastic. It slows the game down again, and you can kind of interact with all the characters, whether it's dialogue, whether it's just observing, learning their names. And yeah, no, I just absolutely loved it. Like I said, the soundtrack picked to perfection. You've got Sid Matters, who's going to have 2 songs this episode. Yeah, just at every point something happened, I was just falling into the universe more and more. And I just, the game like is probably like 15 minutes in at this point, and I already knew it would be a game I'd remember for like decades to come.
I don't have much else to add on to that, but I agree with it. It's just like whenever they use like their music, they fucking use it well, and they really set a good scene to go along with it.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's so good from like a point of view perspective as well, because obviously where she has her headphones in, so like you're listening to the music she's listening to, I just think it works really well. But I mean, I didn't necessarily expect this, but shit goes down pretty like fast after this.
Yeah.
You go into the toilet, and nice little cameo, nice little blue butterfly, which I completely forgot about, so that was quite nice to see for the channel. You see this fight break out between these 2 people. We don't know their names yet, and to cut a long story short, it then ends with the girl with the blue hair getting shot, and that's when we find out that Max can reverse time. So I don't know if you guys like played the demo of this before you played the game itself, like whether this was a surprise to you. No, it wasn't for me, because I did actually play like a demo. But a quick thing, like, I just think this is such an interesting thing, especially because it's a choice-based game. Having this power to reverse time would really throw up some dilemmas, and you think like how this could be used later on. So, and to be fair, they do use it really well later on. So like, what did you guys like think about this scene and sort of like the ability to reverse time in general?
Yeah, I mean, I like the variety that the time travel element throws at you. Like the fact that it could be done for simple puzzles of like if there's a guard walking by and you can kind of reverse time so they end up in a different spot and then you can carry on. Whether it's for a bit of dialogue, so you know you can get just a simple answer done right in class, or if it's to save someone's life later on, you know, like the time travel element was just absolutely done to perfection. I will say that as a little criticism, sometimes like you would get a glitch. Sometimes when you're reversing on the swell, you would get stuck in a loop a little bit, or sometimes you'd be forced to reverse time when you actually want to go forward. But otherwise, yeah, it's just fantastic. And I think this is a really great part of the story that like really showcases it. You know, like a girl comes into the bathroom who will like learn who she is, but like, yeah, just the fact that's when it first happens to save someone's life, it's just done really dramatically. I just was really invested. I don't know about yourself, Anya.
No, yeah, because I didn't know like anything about the game when I got into it, so like I didn't expect things to, 1, escalate as quickly as they did, and 2, to have like that kind of element put into it, because it sets it apart from like other kind of games. Like, life is strange, you can rewind time. It's like it makes sense to have like a power involved in it, but it's also like, oh, that's actually really cool. I think a lot of people would love to be able to rewind time sometimes. And then it really gets you thinking too, like we have like a whole rest of this game and no idea when I'm going to need this, how I'm going to need it. But it's definitely a very neat element to have.
Of course, yeah, and obviously Max uses the power, and then we go back to the classroom scene, and I won't sort of hang around on this for too long, but you're able to answer things differently, aren't you, to make it seem more impressive to your teacher, but you ultimately go back to the bathroom in order to save this girl's life, which it does, and you're able to do so by hitting the fire alarm bell. Then of course, I don't know if you guys did, but I then obviously went outside and then spoke to the principal. And you're then, I think, is it that you come up with a choice, whether you report Nathan or whether you don't say anything? Do you remember what you guys did?
Oh, I snitched on his ass.
Oh, did you? I hid the truth here. I mean, like, a lot of my stuff is, like, I've replayed it, so a few of them I'd be a bit like, oh, because I know what happens if you do. And I later know that I don't want to trust this Welsh guy. Man's like a massive, bulky alcoholic. But, like, I can't remember, like, but it would be really interesting to see what actually happens if you do report Nathan later on. Because, yeah, obviously this decision can, like, have an effect later on in a different episode. But to be honest, this whole thing, like I said, my texture packs were fucked, so I was just too busy laughing at Mr. Manson's sparkly pink hat for me to really, like, kind of pay attention at this point. How about you, Jack?
Yeah, so I actually originally snitched, then because I think, was it like a character, or maybe it was just Max internal monologue saying, oh, he's not going to do anything, it's the Prescotts, they've got Blackwell by the bollocks, basically. So I actually ended up going back and hiding the truth. So I've actually covered all bases there and then just almost stuck with that. But I've also got here that you get to meet David, the security guard, as well. I don't know if this is optional, but I think it might be when you're like walking around corridors. Obviously, we'll get to know what his significance is later on, but early thoughts on this particular character, Anya?
He gives, even from the start, he gave me the ick. I think it's just because of the mustache, but I don't know.
Sorry,
it's just
mate.
me with my mustache.
Character that gives me the ick is that Samuel, like the maintenance guy. He's got a very like soft-spoken voice. He's like, "Oh, hello, young Max." He's like,
yeah.
But, yeah.
I think that Daniel guy as well, because he's like, I'm like, oh, he's getting bullied. I sit down with him later on. He's like, oh, let me sketch you. I'm like, yeah, there's a reason you get bullied, lad. You can't be going around saying that as your first words to someone.
That's it. I mean, obviously, moving on. I mean, I definitely sort of revelled in this bit purely for almost like memory purposes. I don't think it matters too much, but then you sort of leave, you head outside, don't you? And you're able to talk to a few people. I think, is it Brooke that has a drone? You've already said there's Daniel you can get a portrait with. There's Mrs. Grant who like wants you to sign some sort of petition because David's putting up surveillance cameras around everywhere. Luke, he can slag off Nathan. There's a little portfolio thing, and I've got that there's a quiz for that as well. So like, there's little things in there that it can really build up this world and these characters.
One thing I will say is that there's also that element. There's that part where you can talk to the stoner skater guy, Justin.
Yes.
And it's got to be some of the cringiest dialogue ever. I think one of the big criticisms that came from this game is that the voice wouldn't often match the lips. And I know that's something that I do think gets improved in later Life is Strange games. But I found it really dark as well, that you'll get these 10 photos, and for one of them, you have to reverse time, so it's like you learn the skate move names. And then you get this guy to do a tree flip, and then he'll, like, hit the board, like, in his, like, balls. And he's on the floor in pain, and you have to get a photo from him. I'm just like, there's a poor dude on the floor, not able to have children anymore. And I'm just there taking a photo of him for my Everyday Heroes contest. I was like, Max, that is dark.
I'm so glad you raised that, because I was literally about to say Savage Jack just come back for like that split second. Because I was like, he'd come up, take a photo. I was like, yeah, I've got to take a photo of this guy. He's pretty fucked up. But yeah, because I think the main objective is you've got to get some sort of flash drive for Warren, if I remember rightly. So you've got to like head back to the dormitories, and obviously when you do head there, you see the class bitch Victoria hanging out with a couple of her cronies before, and you get this really like nice sequence where obviously you get to use the go back in time sequence. It's like perfect practice for that. But it's just a fun scene as well. Obviously we meet Samuel as well. It sort of plays out where you can like interfere with the paint and then like the water sprinklers, and she gets, you know, paint all over her. It ultimately comes to this choice, doesn't it? Like, do you take the mick of her or don't you? So we'll start with you, Anya. Did you rub Victoria's face in it?
I really wanted to, but this time I was nice. But I was also like watching a playthrough at the same time, and I was kind of living vicariously through him because he just made fun of her, and I was just living for it because he was like, nah, this bitch deserves it. And he had no shame. I'm like, okay, at least I see how this goes now. Because like, if you're nicer, she deletes the photo, right?
Yeah, she just takes a photo of you before you enter, doesn't she? And like, yeah. She can delete it for you. So there's definitely a benefit to, you know, comforting rather than making fun of her. I know for myself, I wanted to take the picture because I hate Victoria at this point, and I think the main reason being is that I just really hate bullies. And I think if we go back to that character, Kate Marsh, who's obviously, you know, in class earlier, really down in the dumps and depressed, and Victoria's just kicking her down even further. I just had no respect for this character. So I certainly splattered her in paint, took a picture, but then I reversed time to be nice. I just, you know, and it's like you mentioned earlier with Wells, you can actually pick one option, and then if you regret it, you can reverse time and then kind of, you know, like change it to the other one. And I used that feature here. I comforted her, but I definitely was like, I'm going to piss her off first just to see what happens.
Oh no, I made fun of her and stuck with it. I was just like, no, eye for an eye. This bitch needs teaching a lesson. So I don't know what it is about like me in video games, but I just feel like when I get the power like online, I know that I'm hurting no one in terms of, you know, like a video game and stuff. Just this savage streak comes out. But yeah, I just stuck with it. I was like, no, she needs to have a lesson taught there. But ultimately, you know, you go upstairs, you're looking for the flash drive, right? And honestly, like you go into like Max's bedroom and just almost like take a pause here. Something I've got written down is that I think it's like it's beautifully portrayed. Like it feels very lived in, you know, it feels really authentic. You've got like the pictures on the wall, the guitar leaning against the bed. Obviously you've got like a plant, the laptop, like loads of sticky notes everywhere. I just like really love this location. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think it matches Max's personality really well as well, doesn't it? There's a load of photos everywhere. There's the guitar, the plant. I can definitely see Max being like a plant mum. And yeah, I definitely took a while in this room. I thought I'd interact with everything I could, looked at the clothes, looked at the photo memorial, stopped to play guitar for a bit. Yeah, no, I was a big fan of it, mate.
Yeah, me too. I wasn't quite in college yet at this point in my life, but when I was a couple years later, I was definitely taking like inspiration, like, you know, photos all over my wall and just plants and stuff. And I don't know, it's just a vibe and I would want to live in it. And I just like, I love clutter as well. Like, this might make me seem lame, but when I play Sims and build like houses and stuff, I just put clutter and shit everywhere just because, like, you know, it feels lived in. I don't want just like a pristine, picture perfect place. I want a room that shows personality.
No, I do get that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like this whole scene plays out. It's the same for everyone, isn't it? You have to go to Dana's room, but then the room's getting blocked by, I forgot what her name is.
Juliet. She quizzes it for you, doesn't she?
That's it, yeah. So you have to ultimately go to Victoria's room to print off some emails that she can let Dana out because she's trapped in there. And obviously after this, I think we come up to our next choice, don't we? Where we see David seemingly having a go at Kate, who we've obviously established at this point is like the shy girl. Do you remember what you guys did here? Like, did you intervene or did you? I think it's take a photo, isn't it? The other choice.
I just intervened, but then I thought about it and I was like, wait, photo might actually like have been good for evidence. And same with the person I was watching at the same time. They were just like, why are you mad? This is going to be helpful. I'm trying to help you. But it wasn't like the kind of help that she wants. So
I intervened. Like I'm aware that because I think when I first did my blind playthrough, I looked at both options, and I know the evidence can be used later, so it probably is the right one to pick. I don't know, and I'm looking at my stats here, and only 16% of people did it. But I was in the majority with the 84% in intervening. I didn't know. I thought short-term help, interfere, like piss off David Madsen with his sparkly pink hat. But yeah, and then Kate really appreciates it. So I don't think there's a wrong or right answer here. I'm unsure, but like, yeah, I just thought I'd go for the short-term help, mate.
Yeah, see, I did the same. I've got the impression that though later on that I think she says, yeah, thank you so much for like helping me out with David. And I guess for me, because there is obviously the ability where you can rewind it and change it, but I think for me they were gunning so hard for David to almost be a villain in this game. I was thinking, me taking a picture, would that necessarily tell the full story? That might sort of like make him a scapegoat for something that he's not actually a bad person. He might just have flaws. So stuck with intervening. Yeah, so obviously we move on to the parking lot where we meet Warren, who's clearly got a bit of a hard on for Max. I mean, yeah, like in terms of my gameplay, she's about to confide to Warren about the whole time travel thing, and then Nathan Prescott comes over. Yeah, obviously it breaks out into a fight, and I don't know, it's sort of like Savage Max coming out. I don't know if you guys thought this, but I love how like Nathan Prescott's like beating the shit out of Warren on the ground. And then like Chloe, obviously the blue-haired girl was it's Chloe, comes, picks Max up. And then like Max is just sort of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get in the car, and then they drive off. So it leaves this poor guy who's like coming to defend her.
One thing I want to ask you guys is, because obviously with Max being quite a canvas as a main character, you can kind of like end up choosing her sexuality, who she's into. You can make her go solo. A load of people ship Max and Warren, and you can confide in him. You can go to like the movies with him or not. I just wanted to ask what you guys did, because on a personal level, I don't know, I just didn't ship these two, and I don't know if there's a bit of bias there because I'm straight and I just didn't like Warren that way. But I don't know, I just sort of like, for me it felt a little forced, and I know a load of people hate me for that because they think Max and Warren belong together massively. But yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion on that, guys. Did you ship Max and Warren?
No, not one bit.
No. He seems really keen, like sort of like a bit too much, and like, yeah, I do think that you're right, the whole like straight thing that does play into it, but like, yeah, like I didn't, I feel like Max was on her own story, the whole romance thing, it would have bogged her down. So yeah, no, I didn't really dig it, mate.
He also gave me the ick.
Yeah, I get you. I think that's the thing as well, where because like you've just had a day where you've saved someone's life, you've learned you could reverse time, and then out of nowhere this guy's coming up with that, and it's just like, now's not the time and place for it, mate.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously we then like see Max and Chloe in the car. We get to establish that obviously she was the girl in the bathroom earlier, and Max didn't recognise her. They used to be best friends years ago before Max moved away. And as a quick like tangent, I'm actually really glad that they explored this whole side of Chloe in Before the Storm. I know we'll obviously cover it at some point, but to put yourself in her shoes, obviously her best mate's gone. She's lost her dad. Her stepdad like isn't sort of the greatest guy in the world. You get the sense that her mum, I wouldn't say that she neglected her, but she maybe wasn't as present in her younger years as she could have been, and that's why I think she's gone on this massive personality change where she's like rebelling quite a lot, dyeing her hair, like she's a completely different girl from who she was before when she was younger with Max. But just really early doors, like really good character development and writing once again.
I think as well, like you obviously learn that Chloe massively punked out because she's clearly got a lot of abandonment issues, and yeah, like you said, she hits that rebellious streak. And I thought it was explored really well, the fact that, you know, Max and Chloe spent 5 years apart, and then they're back, you know, in a car with each other, and they're almost like polar opposite different people, but the connection just comes right back. And I just think it's really incredibly written. And I don't know, it's another thing as well that I can just heavily relate to, because I moved a lot as a kid, and, you know, I definitely had a best friend like somewhere else, and, you know, he was like really sort of into rap, and he dressed up like it. And then I moved to England, and then I like kind of went alternative. So yeah, it just like was another thing as well that just almost ripped a chapter out of my book. And it's weird. It's like, you know, you get those games where sometimes there's just elements that just really sing out to you, and this was just another one of those for me. So I really got a kick out of the Max and Chloe friendship. I just thought it was so well written, and it was just so interesting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously we then go into Chloe's room, and I think obviously, you know what I touched on before about sort of Max having like a very busy room. It's very much the same with Chloe. You can always see, although that there's the differences were highlighted between them in the car scene with how much Chloe's changed, you can still see that there is that sort of sentimental value between the pair of them. Obviously they live fairly similarly. I mean, I know Chloe's room is a little bit more cluttered, but again, like, it feels lived in. Like it doesn't feel very sterilised and boring. And I think, you know, with all the posters on the wall, stuff on the floor, stuff under the bed, like it, I don't know, I really revelled actually, like coming back to this game and like going through all of these environments. I suppose, yeah, obviously moving on, we then head to the garage, don't we? We've got to get some tools after, you know, we've put some music on and stuff. Again, I really like the little mini games that you have where you can reverse time. You've got to push the thing under so that when the thing on top of the washing machine ultimately falls, you can like grab the tools and stuff. I think this is something that we'll be revisiting as well, like throughout the series, like the whole mini game element. But like, I suppose, like coming back to you guys, is that something that you really enjoyed with this game as well, on top of say like the choices and the whole going back in time thing?
Yeah, I did. Especially with like I like puzzles. I'm not good at them, but I like doing them. And just to do like little things like going back in time and then making little small adjustments and then doing it again and then getting to the right spot, like, makes you feel good, makes you feel accomplished.
I think as well, like, it's a perfect game, isn't it? If you're not a massive gamer, it's not full on. You don't have to be good at games or puzzles, is it? It's kind of like, they're simplistic, but they're really nice to play, and you still feel really rewarded when you get it done. So yeah, no, I completely agree on that one, mate.
I think as well, it could be like the fact that we've come off the back of The Devil in Me as well. I mean, I know there were puzzles in that with like the, you know, the electric thing and stuff like that, but like this is just something a bit different. Obviously it factors in the going back in time aspect, but then of course as well you can, you know, explore the environment and interact with certain things in order to progress the game forward. And I think they do this in episode 2 as well, in the diner, which, you know, we'll cover when we do that episode, but I really sort of enjoyed those moments as well. I guess obviously we then come to like the final choice of this episode. So David comes in. Obviously we've established that he is Chloe's stepdad, and we then go to, I mean, I don't know, can you hide in more than one place other than the closet? Because I tried hiding under the bed, that didn't work, and I assumed it was only the closet. So do either of you know if there's another place that you can hide when he comes upstairs?
Well, I've never found any other ones, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is the closet. And then again, you get another time puzzle thing, don't you, where you've got to like save the snow globe, which I thought was pretty cool as well. But yeah, like, yeah, obviously David comes up, and it's just about whether you take the heat for the joint that I mean, I'm just gonna say it, Chloe just leaves pretty precariously, and she's just smoked one, so I don't know how he had to find it rather than like the fact he couldn't just smelled it the moment he opened the door, because it's like she's just lit a joint up, you're smelling that probably as soon as you go through the front door, let alone finding it in like in her ashtray. But yeah, did you guys take the rap for it?
I think I just stayed hidden the whole time. Do you come out anyways?
I can't remember actually, because I know that I can't, like, there's 4 options. You can either take the blame for Chloe, you can either blame Chloe, which apparently 1% of people have done, just stay hidden, which seems to be the majority choice, or you can come out of hiding to intervene, which is what I did. I just thought, you know what, like, I think there was a bit of guilt behind my choice, because I felt like, yeah, I've clearly abandoned this girl. She's already sniped at me 2 or 3 times for not calling or messaging her, or just, you know, leaving her hanging on texts for ages. But yeah, I just felt, you know what, like, I've abandoned her for 5 years, clearly. I think, like, I kind of need to take the hit for this joint. How about you, Jack?
I stayed hidden. Yeah, I mean, I just thought, in terms of the story, he's at Blackwell, I'm at Blackwell. Do I really want this guy keeping an eye on me unnecessarily? Do I think that he needs to know about our friendship? I was like, no, let's keep that quiet for as long as possible for now.
Yeah, I think that was my thought process.
Yeah, like I think I'm pretty sure you then come out once he goes, and you know, or she says later on, oh, you know, it's probably best that you didn't come out. But in episode 2, she starts like slagging me off for it. She's like, oh, you didn't come out to like help me intervene. And I'm like, Chloe, like, make your mind up. Like, so it felt like it was one of those where maybe the game was encouraging you to rewind time and do something differently. I don't know, but
maybe. I think as well, like with me, like obviously I intervened earlier and then I've come out the closet. So he looked at me and he kind of had that, you again, like, are you stalking me? Which is like rich for someone who stalks other people. So like, yeah, I was like in his bad books, like massively. I had 2 strikes with him. One thing I wanted to ask you guys, because obviously I like took the rap, so like Chloe really appreciated it. But I showed this game to someone once and they just, playing this episode, they were not a fan of Chloe because she's constantly sniping at you. You obviously, a big theme of this game is Rachel Amber, who we've not touched on, who Chloe used to be friends with, seems to be your replacement, and then stuck up missing posters everywhere. And a big part of this game is you feel like you're in the shadow of this Rachel girl, who seems to be this really popular figure before, and Max is quite shy and dorky and feels like she can't live up to her. And it feels like, yeah, like Max the whole time is just trying to like get back into Chloe's like best friend position. Now, like I say, Chloe gets a bit of heat because she's obviously quite rude, and we later learn, like you mentioned, Jack, it gets covered really well and it's almost forgiven and excused by the abandonment issues, and Before the Storm does a really good job of kind of painting her in a better light or showing you things from Chloe's perspective. But yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, did you guys like find Chloe rude at all? Like, did her kind of like snipist nature at you cause you any sort of like frustrations at all?
Yeah, but like, I get it. And I figured if she's supposed to be like our best friend, or she was and she will be, I figured she was going to be like obviously sticking around for this game. We had to start it out by saving her life. And there's like, you know, episode 1, we don't know a whole lot, but we still get like the general gist of why she feels the way that she does. And like, I can get that. It doesn't excuse being a bit of a prickly bitch, but it's okay. It's fine. Like, I had faith that she would like get better and that we could kind of repair this relationship a little more.
Yeah, I'd probably say that I'm pretty similar. It's almost funny, like, so like in 2 minds. On the one hand, thinking, you know, oh, it's a little bit strange, like how can these 2 be friends at this point, given like the amount of changes and, you know, how aggressive and snipey Chloe is. On the other hand, from like an objective point of view, I think that the characters are almost opposites in some ways, so they actually bounce off one another really well. So I was almost buying into the friendship dynamic as well, so it's like a little bit of conflict there. But no, I didn't actually hold it against her that much. I think I come from a more understanding point of view.
I can get why people don't like her though.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we then come to the final scene, don't we? Where Max and Chloe, they're sat at the lighthouse, and Max essentially tells all about her time travel power that she's now got. She has like another nightmare moment where I think, is this the thing where she finds the newspaper and she's like, oh my god, this is in 5 days time that this is going to happen, and she has to like convince Chloe that something big's going to go down in 5 days.
I absolutely love the sunset shot of just you both looking over Arcadia Bay as Chloe rants about how she wishes Arcadia Bay would like get destroyed and turn into glass. as we've touched on, I like the time travel puzzles, how you've got to reverse time and then go back, you know, like to avoid all the obstacles that come down. So yeah, I just really like the outro. Like, obviously, we've got Sid Matters again with Obstacles, which is kind of like the main song, I guess, of the series. But I just really like the fact that when this weather happens, that what is it? We get snow, don't we, in the sun, which obviously is really weird, and you can kind of gather it's probably to do with the time travel, that you're messing up with the weather in the universe. But I just really like the different shots of all the characters doing their different things and looking at the weather. And it happens again in a few of the other episodes, I think. But I just thought it was really cool that like we got this little music outro. I don't know, it felt like you were just looking at a music video. And it was just nice to just sit back and just watch your screen for 3 minutes and just... You almost like look at the characters like there's sort of like no good guys and bad guys. They're all just like kind of humans dealing with different shit. And I don't know, it just humanized everyone. And I just really like this outro. I don't know if you guys thought the same.
No, yeah, I really like it.
Oh, 100%. It's like watching a TV show in many ways. It's almost like harking back to what I was saying before, like with the corridor. Obviously, in that moment, it's more like of a point of view angle for Max. Whereas like coming to the end of this episode, yeah, it's sort of like we're a third party watching these characters and, you know, the moving pieces in this story. And, you know, like, yeah, honestly, you're spot on, like how it humanises them, how the, you know, the troubles that they've got going on in their life. It's just a really good way to end the episode, I think.
One thing I wanted to ask you guys is, are there like any side characters that you thought were severely underrated, or any side characters that you really respected?
I'm trying to think, like, at this point, who I would have like thought of.
Would you say Kate's a side character, or is she more?
We could talk about Kate, because like obviously with Kate, like she's clearly dealing with something, and it's very under wraps in this episode, and we'll probably talk about it more in the next one. But
yeah,
you don't really know what's going on, but you just really feel for her. She's clearly like had a note thrown at her at the start where it's like, we enjoyed your porn video, and then she's just constantly darting away. She wants to be alone by herself. You just really feel for Kate, don't you? And I just like, I don't know, that's a character I really empathized with.
yeah, if we're counting her, then I like kind of had my eye on her at the start, especially because I can resonate with her a lot. And especially at that time in my life, I was like, oh, sad, quiet girl in the corner.
To be honest, like one character I really want to kind of give a little shout out to is Dana. She's not in the game that much, but I just really enjoyed her because I think, you know, you've got Victoria, who's clearly like your pretty, prissy, bitchy, like popular girl. But Dana's like the complete opposite, where clearly she's very attractive, but she still takes time to talk to Max and she looks out for her. And I just think that's kind of a rare feat, that someone can be popular but look out for the introvert. So from day one, I've just always respected Dana. I like did the extra bits with her pregnancy test where I like spoke to her about it, did the little rewind puzzle with her. So yeah, I just wanted to just give a quick shout out to that side character. She's definitely one of my faves there.
I agree. I like Dana.
Fantastic. I've got 2 negatives written down, so it's not that bad. I've covered one of them, which is like the lip syncing, right? Another thing for me, I think this could be a purely personal thing. I do think that these Life is Strange games really do overkill the looking at various objects in this world. I find it a little bit overwhelming. And I just wonder, like, maybe in future games whether they could like bring it down a little bit, because I mean, I don't know, it must affect the runtime a lot, but like there's moments like, you know, where it says, you know, you got to look at a ball or something. It's like, oh, I bet they play football every day. Like, I mean, that's a shit example, but you get what I mean. Like, it's, I don't know, it doesn't add too much. There are some ones that work, you know, if she like, looks at her guitar and she's like, oh yeah, I like playing this at weekends. Not a shit example, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, I do wish that they would tone that down a little bit, because in the end I get to a point where I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for the objective. And you know, there's moments where I like to revel in an environment. There's other times where I'm like, okay, like, you know, you're sort of hitting me hard a little bit now. So that's like one thing that I'd say. But in terms of the positives, voice acting, the setting's great. I love the sense of mystery. You've got this whole Rachel Amber story developing. Obviously, you've got the whole Prescott, how they're tied in with the school. Max has got this time travel ability. There's so many different strands that this story goes off of, and obviously, you know, when you cover Life is Strange 2, I think it's very, it's anti that. There's not too much going on apart from, you know, a couple of people on the run. So honestly, really good to like cover this game again. I'm glad that time hasn't hindered it in many ways. So yeah, positive note to end on. Okay guys, so obviously that was our analysis breakdown of Life is Strange episode 1. I'm not going to try and pronounce the title because I'll just embarrass myself. But
Chrysalis.
okay, thanks guys for doing that. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there, shall we? So it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
See you in the next one.